So job number 1 done for McLaren, a front row lockout for them. Probably would have preferred Lando Norris to be on pole position so that they'd avoid the talk of team orders, but you'd be silly not to enforce those team orders later on in the race with what looks like to be a clear performance advantage over the rest of the field in this early stage of the weekend. Of course, anything can change when more fuel is added to the car and potentially increment weather conditions, because this weekend at Interlagos looks like, as it always generally tends to be, some shower of thunderstorms, some rain, so that's always going to spice up things. But yes, starting on the front row lockout for them, especially for Oscar Piastri, who really needed to pull his finger out from his behind after going out in Q1 in the sprint race at Circuit of the Americas. Not an overly ideal qualifying for him as well in the main race, and then of course Mexico going out in Q1 as well. So he really needed a good performance. He needed this for his own confidence, and McLaren importantly needed it, because Ferrari have closed that gap to just over 30 points behind McLaren in the standings, and well, Charles Leclerc will be ready to pounce off the second row tomorrow in P3, but also ready to pounce as well, no doubt, will be Max Verstappen, as we know, because Lando, while he is 2 positions ahead of Max Verstappen, guess who's lining up directly behind him? Oh yes, Max Verstappen in P4 will line up directly behind Lando. And well, if you're unfamiliar with Interlagos, P1 starts on the outside line, so the racing line, to the corner of turn 1. And then the inside line, the dirtier side of the track, technically, is where the even numbers start. So P2, P4, P6, etc. And well, Lando will have Max directly behind him. So no doubts, Lando will want to get into turn 1 first so that he can get ahead of his teammates and ensure that Piastri doesn't have to adhere to team orders. But he'll be, no doubt, looking in his left-hand mirror, the inside mirror, to ensure Max isn't heading up his inside and he doesn't leave a Red Bull-sized gap for Max to slip into, because, you know, if he's given it, Max will definitely take it. However, maybe a bit more self-preservation from Max, considering it is only a sprint race and there's less points on offer. And, well, Max has a bigger picture to look forward to for the race on Sunday, with that 5th-place grid penalty that he has to take. Not being taken tomorrow for the sprint race, but is being taken on Sunday. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race up front, as expected. We expected the Ferraris up there. Carlos Sainz only just behind Max Verstappen. My prediction is that I do think we'll see the McLarens finish in P1 and P2. I think Lando will have team orders go his way if he doesn't get ahead of Piastri, and I think we'll see Charles finish ahead of Carlos Sainz, who will get the better of Max, because I think that Red Bull is just... Sprint race, he might do better in the sprint race, of course, than the race on Sunday, but yeah, if it's dry conditions, I think that Red Bull may fall back a little bit. Still be quicker than George Russell in the Mercedes, but fall back behind the Ferraris, as we saw them closing down in the last sprint race in Circuit of the Americas. But Max, no doubt, will be praying for rain, because it's the great nullifier, and it will give him a best opportunity to beat those Ferraris and, importantly, take it to Lando Norris. So yeah, interesting fight up ahead, up front. Now, let's go down the bottom of the grid, because, well, there's a driver there who's very under pressure, Yuki Tsunoda, of course. Now, while all the talk has been about Liam Lawson and, of course, Colapinto and Sergio Perez, Tsunoda is still under pressure. There is, as we know, Lawson has been given that target to beat his teammate. And, well, last time around at Mexico, we know how the race didn't go too well for him. It ended before the first corner, but qualifying also didn't end well for him either. While he finished a place ahead of Lawson, that's only because he himself brought out the red flag. So Yuki, not a good start to his weekend, getting knocked out in Q1 in P18. He's got a lot to do, especially as Liam Lawson is in P8. Once again, getting it through to Q3. Had a bit of needle with Sergio Perez in Q2, who kind of was in his way on the exit of turn 4. We'll get on to Sergio Perez very shortly. But yeah, Yuki, not a good start to his weekend. He'll be looking to obviously end the sprint race positively, learn some data, learn something about his car so that he can recover that in qualifying and the race on Sunday. But Aston Martin, I feel like there hasn't been enough coverage on the downfall of Aston Martin. I feel like they're getting a bit of a bye, really. They did well. I say they did well. They did okay at the start of the season. They were in kind of their own kind of championship race, shall we say. They weren't quick enough to be part of the top Formula A, shall we say, the top teams of McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari, and they were better than Haas and RB and Alpine, and they've just been kind of plodding along. But now they are struggling to get out of Q1 regularly, and their race pace is dire. Fernando Alonso went out in P16, and Lance Stroll was in P19. I mean, why is this not getting more coverage? This is shocking. This is absolutely shocking. Now, you can talk about potentially the fact of the correlation. They use the same wind tunnel as Mercedes, and Mercedes have not done well, but Mercedes are still comfortably in the top 4, aren't they? And every now and then they're very peaky and they can potentially get pole and win races. But Aston Martin, I mean, what a drop-off from them. It needs to be studied. Maybe they've just completely given up with this year and this current set of regs, and they are going all in for 2026. Of course, Newey coming in next year to help with 26. But yeah, not looking good for them. And I think there needs to be more criticism laid at that team, and they're getting a bit of a bye. But moving into Q2, Valtteri Bottas dragging that bright green tractor into Q2. Well done. P15, 4 positions ahead of Lance Stroll. This man does not deserve to be 23rd in these drivers' standings. Unbelievable. He's only 23rd on countback. They're the only team, Sauber, not Stake F1, to not score a point this season. And Valtteri Bottas is doing wonderful things in that car, if it can kind of be said. And a little fun fact for you, that the Sauber this year is actually quicker on average than the Red Bull of last year, in qualifying at least. That's how much these how quick these cars have developed, how much quicker they've got. So yeah, crazy to think, considering how dominant that Red Bull car was last year. But that's how things move so quickly in F1 and progress. But yeah, he doesn't deserve to be. He doesn't deserve to be the bottom of the driver's standings, does he? And look, unfortunately, with only 8 positions on offer that can score points in sprint races, he's not going to score points anytime soon, and probably not in the race either. So yeah, it'll be a sad end to Valtteri Bottas's career if he doesn't score at least 1 point and finishes at the bottom of the standings in 23rd. But you look a little bit deeper into it, he's done much better than that. So of course, the 2 biggest scalps in Q2 was Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez. So let's talk Lewis Hamilton first, because I have quite a bit to say about Sergio. Lewis Hamilton, just another standard poor qualifying from him. In his post-race interview, he just said, yeah, he kind of just another poor qualifying as it has been all year. He's just kind of accepted that he's always going to be qualifying poor for the remainder of the season. He just kind of doesn't care. He's probably just looking at every race weekend as being one closer to next year, where he gets to put the red overalls on. Complained in FP1, of course, about a lot of porpoising in the car, so said he had no confidence in it. And you need confidence at Interlagos, especially under braking into turn 1, lifting off the brakes, of course, allowing the car to roll in, and then in the middle sector in particular. And it just looked like that the car had a lot of understeer and just didn't do what he wanted to do. It was just a poor lap from him. Now, what may have played into maybe this poor quali lap from Lewis is that in FP1, he didn't do any running on the soft compound tyre at all. He did every single lap on the medium, and maybe there's a bit more focus on Sunday. Of course, Lewis, no doubts, he's got citizenship in Brazil. And he will want to focus on the race on Sunday and qualifying tomorrow rather than the sprint race. So maybe his focus is there, and that's why actually he didn't look too downbeat about this. It's more so, it wouldn't surprise me if he's kind of using this as just data gathering to ensure the car maybe is in a good spot to optimize it for Sunday. that wouldn't surprise me, because, yeah, he surprisingly wasn't that downbeat. Sergio Perez, right, let's get on to him. So, Franco Colapinto, there's been a lot of talk all of a sudden of Colapinto getting the Red Bull seat for next year. Now, it was all talk recently of Liam Lawson vying for that seat, and maybe that still is the case. And I think it should be, as he has done what he needs to do to prove himself to be in that Red Bull seat, at least last year, and is still continuing to do that now. Franco Colapinto, I think most of us agree, breath of fresh air, seems a great guy, deserves to be on F1, deserves to be in F1 next year, and there's only the Sauber seat remaining. But it has come out that Carlos Slim, the biggest sponsor, billionaire sponsor of Sergio Perez, who's been highly influential in Perez getting that seat, maintaining that seat in particular, is now looking to sponsor Colapinto. And, well, we know how Sergio Perez just hasn't performed. He didn't even get to set his second lap in Q2 because he failed to cross the start-finish line in time. And if memory serves me correctly, it was all his own doing. He just dawdled on his outlap, got in the way of Liam Lawson slightly, which riled Liam Lawson up. Of course, those two have needle from last week in Mexico. And Sergio Perez failed to even set a lap. I mean, come on, dude. You're not helping yourself. You're not even helping yourself. Like, you may have a contract. You can shout from the heavens in the media that you have a contract for next year. We know, particularly in F1, but particularly even more so at Red Bull, that contracts mean diddly squat. And they can just end it like that. They are a multi-million, billion-pound company, actually, that would not batter an eyelid at cancelling your contract. So, especially when your biggest sponsor has even lost faith in you by the sounds of it and is looking to take his money elsewhere. So, yes, interesting developments. Who knows what will happen, but Sergio Perez, just, could this be his last race? I don't know. I still think he'll be there to the end of the season. I just do. But you never know. I mean, surely Horner's got to lose his patience at some point. But, yeah, maybe there'll be an agreement with Mr. Slim that, we can get rid of Perez and you can just put that money towards Colapinto so they're still not, like, losing anything, you know. But God knows. So, yeah, Colapinto, unfortunately, not a good qualifying from him, P14, and Nico Hülkenberg, P12. And, yeah, Ollie Behrman out-qualified Nico Hülkenberg. I mean, wow. Stepping in for K-Mag, who's got, unfortunately, food poisoning. Great from Ollie Behrman. He'll be disappointed because of that off-track. Could have got him maybe ahead of Pierre Gasly, Lawson and Albon, and start behind the Mercedes of George Russell in P7. But, yeah, still great nonetheless to just step in like that, be called upon on short notice and put in those performances. Yes, he has raced this year in that car. He's raced in the Ferrari. But there is still that mindset of waking up in the morning or going to bed the night before and not knowing that, yeah, I'm not racing this weekend, and then all of a sudden you are. And to switch on and to do that is credit to him. Albon, really good. He's under pressure. Got it into Q3 once again. This time around, just needs to ensure he's not taken out of turn one, you know. And Liam Lawson, be a travesty if he's not on the grid next year. I really do think he is doing what he needs to do to be on that grid. I mean, what more can you do to prove yourself in a midfield car than putting it into Q3, dragging it from the back of the grid and getting into the points, and even showing some good wheel-to-wheel racing last week in Mexico? Because I still stand by that Lawson wasn't at fault for anything last week. If you actually look into it, just go check out my video on Liam Lawson and him getting under the skin of Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez just by doing things correctly. So yeah, interesting race ahead of us tomorrow. Let's see what it has in store for us. The weather is really going to put a spanner in the works. McLaren will be hoping there isn't inclement weather, maybe Ferrari as well. But the likes of Max Verstappen, the likes of Lewis Hamilton, who we know are very good in the rain and are out of position, you'd say, they would be hoping for it to rain tomorrow. They'll be doing their rain dances in the morning. That is for sure. But yes, Tune in to our watch along for the sprint race tomorrow, and of course the qualifying as well. Busy day tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, this quick reaction. Let me know what you think of Sprint Shootout. Who do you think is going to win this race tomorrow? What do you think the order is going to be? Let me know what you think below. I'm intrigued to hear, and we'll catch you for the F1 watch along tomorrow. See you then. Bye.